Yeah.
Bill, my
Okay.
name is Bill. I'm a new participant. Thank you, guys.
You say Bill?
Yes, sir. I'm a
Good
friend of
morning.
George Washington. I hope you don't mind the invite.
Not at all. Good morning.
Not at all.
Okay. We'll go ahead and get started and see if we have questions on last week. We talked about a number of things. We had some questions. We talked about the lining up of the planets, the spiritual aspect of that, and the other energies that we've observed and talked about. We talked about the portals, from the sun and the earth, and the polarities of them and what that meant. We had a question that someone sent in that related that to a heartbeat and the energy exchanging energies. So we talked about masculine and feminine energy. We talked about the seed and darkness and resistance. We talked about a number of things. So see if we have any questions on anything that was discussed on Monday or Saturday and Sunday for that matter, because all of it is related. And if not, do you have any questions on anything else that we may have discussed? Or anything that may have crossed your mind for that
Hey,
matter?
Ron.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Ron, I want to
Yes.
let you guys know that I have some errands to run. I'm out and about, so I'm on the phone, okay, instead of on Zoom. And there are some things I'll probably interject later on, but I just want to give you a heads up. That's
Okay.
Good morning, you all. My coworker Bill had a question that he raised to me, and he suggested that he would just ask you all a question. And that's it right there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, George. And since I just unmuted myself, I guess I'll go ahead and ask the question. I was not on last week. Apologies. So this is not about that, but it's what inspired my participation this morning. I have been struggling with something myself lately, which is simply this: the value of prayer when there is no action involved. In other words, sitting in a room, either by ourselves or even in a group, and praying in a general sense, and then we all stand up, clap each other on the back, and go, "What wonderful Christians we are! Great job!" And we all disperse, but there's no action. We don't do anything. It is coming to me to feel like that form of prayer is, in essence, a subcategory of the sin of pride, where we use faith to nothing more than make ourselves feel better, if that's being clear. So I'm going to go back to mute, and I'm just interested to hear what the group thoughts are. You specifically, Reverend Rick. Thank you again for the participation. Going to mute.
Okay. Class, we have a question on the board. And I think I like the question. He brings up a number of things. One, Christianity and what is prayer. We've talked about both of those things. So anybody like to address Bill's question?
Hey, this is Nick.
well.
I can help with that.
Go ahead, Nick.
Well, actually, you can go first if you
No,
can.
no.
Okay.
Well,
Good morning.
okay. Go ahead.
My name is Nick. The Within generally speaking, religious settings, prayer is treated as a ritual that is, uh, for the most part, disconnected from the reality of the energy and the spirit that it is meant to uh, help direct in the spiritual and metaphysical sense. So that does not mean it is uh, unnecessary or useless, but it is, for the most part, a performative action without the ability to channel the energy that it is intended to in a more conscious way. Now, I'm speaking generally in a religious setting as it is done in a sort of performative way. Metaphysically, spiritually, prayer has a real impact, but it depends on the nature of the awareness or the connectedness of the people or person engaging in that action. Now, in the meantime, if the prayer that you are attempting to employ does not create the result that you want it to, withholding action is a way to sort of move responsibility off of yourself and place it on something that effectively you do not understand out of a sense of your own ego or fear, etc. But essentially, action is the physical component of prayer that you engage in when your ability to more consciously direct the energy that prayer is intended to is not yet mature. And I say all that to say that action is very important, especially if you want to accomplish something physically. And to make the assumption that your whatever method you are employing to pray, to make the assumption that it will automatically take care of everything, even though you do not feel like it will, is an egotistical use of that tool, which is what prayer is. But anyway, that's my understanding of that situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Pastor, did you want to add on, or you have something you'd like to include?
Yeah, I would. There is, in Christianity, there is a misconception. Oh, in addition to what Nick was saying, there is a misconception of what prayer is altogether. And that misconception has been ignorantly or purposely appropriated to spirituality. And when we look at prayer from the original text of prayer, the original meaning rather of prayer, it means to meditate. And what we have actually been taught to do in religious settings is to orally recite words in a prescribed order with the expectation of receiving results that never happen. Meditation, however, is from the internal aspect of our being, and meditation automatically connects us to the spiritual world when we are doing it in earnest. And that unicity with the spiritual world is a oneness between us and our Creator. And the expectation is not to get what you want in terms of a material thing. The expectation is to recognize the unicity between us, or the oneness between us and our Creator. And in doing so, it grants us an opportunity to realize that what we receive or not receive is because our Creator has seen fit to withhold it or to grant it based upon our spiritual needs and our desires that are going to be beneficial not only to us, but to humanity as a whole. So prayer is not the multiplication of words. Prayer is an internal oneness with the creator of everything that is. Am I making sense so far?
You
This
are
is
to
Bill.
me,
Yes,
Yes.
yes, you are.
okay.
So anyway, as you said, this thing about prayer, but faith also is something that has been misappropriated as well. And the misappropriation of faith is because we are told to expect something to happen, meaning that faith is about doubt. If I have faith about something happening, then that means it may or may not happen. However, if I'm in a position of knowing, then I know that is going to happen. Now, what does it mean when we talk about what's going to happen and what is not going to happen? We have been taught to believe that faith, prayer, communication with our Creator, all of it is about making something happen in our favor or for someone who is close to us. And neither one of those are about making anything happen. It is about a recognition, a knowing that the requests of your heart are granted when when the request is for the benefit of humanity and not just for you. And when we feel like it is only for us, it is really not. It is simply for the advancement of humanity itself, even though we benefit from it. And if we do not receive what we wanted based on our knowing, then that simply means that our mind has overridden the soul. Our natural mind overrides our soul, which is the mind and the spirit actually. And our soul, because of our trust, because of our knowing, always grants us the space to accept the ruling of the universe, the ruling of our Creator, based upon what our desires are. There are times when our desires are met immediately. And there are times when they are not. And there are times when we recognize them having been met by looking at it retrospectively. And when we look at it retrospectively and see that what we have requested has taken place, it is then that we begin to establish a history with our Creator. And the establishment of that history with our Creator puts us in a space where we rarely is ever asked for anything for ourselves, but we ask for everything on behalf of the humanity. I'm done. Thank you. Unless there are questions or comments.
Pastor, this is Barbara. I'd like to add something else as well, please. The premise is understanding that we are spirit, we are energy. And when in a traditional setting, I wonder how many of us had that premise. We thought that the spirit would hit us or move us at certain periods of time, but we saw ourselves as separate from the Creator, separate and apart from. And so what we asked with words, with what I think Bill said was the ritual of words, was asking outside of ourselves for what we thought we needed. But if we start from the premise that of who we really are, the essence of who we really are, we become conduits then. In other words, we are spirit, and we become conduit for that greater spirit and all that it has, not only for us, but for the world. the other thing too is that when we pray, we usually pray about a specific thing, as you said, for our benefit, not understanding that apart from and separate from the Creator, we don't have any. We don't use the leverage that we have. The leverage that we have is understanding, as you said, Pastor, that we are one. And so, whenever we meditate and connect, and it really isn't connection. It's really getting in that place where we understand that we are one with everything and with everybody. Whenever we get to that point, as you said, we trust the universe. We trust the Creator to provide everything that's needed. But it can't be selfish, as you said. It's got to be for everyone. And so what's good for me, what's good for everyone is good for me. If peace is good for everyone, it's good for me. But I need to do it on behalf of everyone and not selfishly focus it on me. And so when things don't seem to occur the way we think they ought to, could it be that what we desired is for the wrong reason? Or could it be that if we are one with the universe, it's occurring, but every time we come back and doubt it about did it happen or did it not happen, that's not the knowing part. The knowing, as you said, is understanding that even though when I meditate and I have a desire, not for myself, but on behalf of mankind, when it doesn't seem like it comes to pass, I can't go back and then doubt it. I got to know and understand that what is happening like a seed beneath the soil. I don't see it right away, but it's doing what it's supposed to do. It's germinating. It's forming whatever that is that needs to be formed for the good of the universe, for the good of mankind, for the good of me then. In other words, I come as part of mankind, not mankind as part of a side kind of thing to what I want. And that's a lot of rambling. I apologize, but I trust that it resonates.
I don't think
This
it's
is
rambling
Bill.
at all.
Yeah, may I ask a question of the woman who just spoke? Are you familiar with an author by the name of Octavia Butler? Because you just rang a bell with me. Beautiful answer, and Reverend, yours was very appropriate too. Going back to mute, interested in hear what the other people have to say for the rest of the meeting. Thank you again for the invite.
Thank you. I'm somewhat familiar, just not in detail. Thank you, Bo.
I want to add to that, Barbara, if I may, because something came to my mind when you were talking. There is a huge difference between Christianity and spirituality. When we are spiritual, everything that Barbara articulated just now in terms of being a seed beneath the soil, germinating and coming to fruition when needed, that's spirituality. Christianity gives us hope without evidence. It gives us hope without spirituality. It gives us a false sense of hope because everything is predicated on whether or not you have, quote unquote, enough faith or whether or not you're a, quote unquote, good Christian, whatever all those things mean. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the question and the answers as well. A lot to think about. Thank you. Anyone else?
I want to ask Bill, does that make sense, the difference between spirituality and Christianity?
Yes, sir. Does to me. Anyone have questions about that?
No, it makes perfect sense to me.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. One of the things that I gather between spirituality and Christianity is the distraction that keeps us away from spirituality. And one of the things that Ron said about 3 weeks ago, the Ten Commandments are something that you are supposed to memorize. Yet the 42 laws of Ma'at is what you strive to be. So Christianity is like three-card money to me. It's a distraction that keeps me away from spirituality. I can't speak upon other religions, but it may be safe to say it may be the same. Yet by way of Christianity, Christianity is the tool that keeps you away from the 42 laws of Ma'at or from spiritual maneuver. Thank you very much.
I don't, George, in reference to what you said, first of all, I want to ask, in a moment we deal with the difference between 42 laws of Ma'at and 10 Commandments. However, I don't think Christianity keeps us away from spirituality on purpose, even though it does. It doesn't do it on purpose. It does it out of ignorance because Christianity has no clue as to what it means to be spiritual. Christianity does not offer us anything that is spiritual at all. Everything in regards to Christianity is predicated upon the material world, even from the humanness, of the characters, as opposed to the spiritual concepts and precepts that are offered in true spirituality, which have their origin, of course, in the hearts of humanity as men were created in the image and likeness of a spiritual being. So when we look at this difference between spirituality and Christianity, between Christianity and spirituality, Christianity is institutionalized and spirituality is not. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, good morning, Ron. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Morning, George. How are you?
Yeah, I just wanted to just elaborate on, when we say prayer and we talk about spirituality, from a religious and just from a spiritual perspective, is that we've been taught, again, go to the reverend or go to the pastor or go to someone who can pray for you, who are able to, answer your prayers or to seek your prayers. And I think that what we're coming into an awareness in terms of what was spoken earlier is in reference to your own thoughts, your own words, and your own actions. And I think that we're coming into that awareness spiritually, that, again, I don't have to just go to the church or I don't have to go to a designated place. I can be in harmony, with my meditations, which is another, attribute in terms of what prayer is. So I think that, being able to know that you have the power, to seek the Creator, to seek God, in prayer, but at the same time, we talk about, that belief or that core belief without actions, the Bible said is dead. And so I think that, again, just us coming into an awareness that I can go to the throne of grace and find strength and help in time of need in terms of me being able to go to the spirit or to the energy, to that spiritual connection. I just wanted to share those thoughts. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, George. You just you made a question pop up in my head, connecting it with something Barb said. Barb was talking and she said, I hope I'm not rambling, which she was not. It resonated with me deeply. Let me ask a question. I hope this doesn't sound ridiculous, but we say that a lot when we're on the phone and we're talking to each other and we see something that's a light bulb or some enlightenment. Should your own prayers resonate with you? Should you feel the vibration of your own prayers as well?
I don't like that word prayer. at all. And the reason I don't is because it gives us a subconscious vision of something that does not exist. And that subconscious vision of the thing that does not exist is the multiplying of words. However, when it comes to vibrating, I think that we are to vibrate with the universe at all times. And whether or not we feel or whether we experience this vibration when we are in the throes of meditation, it matters not, because the desires, but because of the sincerity of your heart is what matters. So I don't want any of us to think that we have to feel something in order to know that we are vibrating with the universe. So vibration is more of our depth, the depth with which we hold on to what we know the truth to be in our relationship with the Creator. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Ron, additionally,
I was simply going to say, Barbara, that Christianity just teaches us to feel. If you don't feel it, it's not real. That kind of thing. And that's not what this is about. Thank you.
I was going to simply add, from my perspective, when I talked about rambling, is, I'm resonating, but when we resonate, we ask the question, does this resonate with you? And when I say I'm rambling, it's because I'm not sure that I am connecting with or resonating with someone, and it's my way of checking. Am I communicating what I'm feeling? Because sometimes it's very difficult to do that. It's not as you know what you feel, but it's difficult to articulate and to put words around it. It's like a container, and you don't have the words to put in that container for someone else, to transport to someone else their thoughts and their hearts and their ideas. So that's part of what we have to deal with being spirits. We don't always understand how to articulate spiritual things in a sense, because there are no physical words that can describe some of those spiritual experiences, if that resonates.
It does indeed. Thank you.
It does.
Yes.
Ron, this is Evelyn. I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
My sister Mary and I, we were talking yesterday about praying, and I was telling her yesterday I had a moment where I was grateful. Something happened to me, and I'm like, okay, thank you, God. And then I thought about it. I said, should I be saying God, or should I be saying me? Or it's like Audra had also made the comment that she didn't know who to thank or who to pray to or whatever, because of what we've learned. And I'm like, so dang, who I need to say thank you to? Is it me or what? So are we the only one feeling that way? That's my question and comment.
Please let me address that.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. See, this is the other thing about Christianity. It's so academic until it has trained us that we have to have an explanation and a mental understanding of everything. If you know who you are, it matters not whether or not you say thank you, God. The thing about it is this: don't you ever forget that the Creator knows what's in your heart. The question is, do you know what your beliefs are? If your beliefs are predicated on truth, then the habits that you have developed with those antidotes of Christianity will not have an adverse effect on your spiritual relationship or the way you spiritually approach the Creator. If that makes sense. So just stop checking ourselves like just do what we do. Because you always say, oh Lord, oh Jesus, whatever. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you know that everything that you are and shall receive emanates with the universe. Okay?
Can I add to
Okay,
that,
This is
thank
Pastor?
you.
Bill.
Can I add
This
to
is
that?
Bill, guys. Yeah, I'd like to add something too, but the young lady may go first. Go ahead.
Evelyn, my conclusion was that, okay, I can be thankful. I don't have to say it to anybody. I can just exude thankfulness. Um, and I put that in the macro. So I don't have to say thank you, God. I can just say thank you. Or because the truth is the truth. And it doesn't mean that we need to place an idol in front of it or something like that. Just as long as we're thankful and we express that thankfulness, it's the same thing, I think.
It is. We don't have to designate a recipient of the thankfulness.
Yes, this is Bill. I agree with that. I think, look, I'm 65. I'm a 65-year-old white guy from what it's worth, guys. And my concept of faith has changed. I would rather now be, going back to an earlier comment, a person of faith than a person of Christianity. My faith is a compass. My faith gives me direction, strength, and comfort. So I would say to Evelyn, if there is a genuineness to finding a place of comfort, if when you pray, you are getting a genuine response of comfort, my guess is you're praying to the right place, whatever name you give it. I would say, keep it up, girl. Keep the faith. Going back to mute.
Thank you, family. I appreciate that. And thank you, Bill.
Okay, any other questions or comments on this topic anyway?
Yeah, I got one question based upon what Mr. George out of Philly stated, and I'm asking Mr. George out of Philly this question: when an individual or
Can you speak up a little bit, George? George.
I got it. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
My question to Mr. George out of Philly is, when an individual goes to the imam, the rabbi, or the pastor to pray for them, it's my belief, which is very opinionated, that it can turn us into a co-creator when we really are creators. So by going to another individual to pray for us, does it eat at our creativity of what we're responsible for as an individual, or is it necessary? If you understand the question, Mr. George out of Philly.
Yeah. Again, good morning, George. Good morning, everyone. I truly, believe that, from the heart, soul, that our energy connects and flows in that way that we're able to appreciate how the Creator put people in our lives to be able to search for spiritual truths and significance. And I think to be open in terms of just the leading of the Spirit, we're able to at least appreciate that transfer of energy in that way, that we have a discernment to know that our desires or our meditations can be thought. And so, George, I think that, again, being able to go to, those that the Spirit have us to have that connection with. And again, it's not about, religion. It's about the spiritual enlightenment that that you know what I mean, that you can appreciate what you're receiving. So I don't, say that it has to be a particular religion or it has to be a particular denomination. But I think that, again, just being open that if we are the universe and the universe is us, I think we're directed to those that are able to give us enlightenment, if that resonates a little bit with you, George.
Well, Mr. George, out of Philly, quick question for you, another question for you. When the Buffalo Bills played against the New York Giants in the Super Bowl, it came down to a field goal. And you had the New York Giants praying that Scott Norwood missed the field goal, and you had the Buffalo Bills on one side praying that he made the field goal. Now, he ended up eventually missing that field goal. So I don't think the creator or the universe really cares about a football game. Yet that was just something that was real intriguing to me as it relates to prayer. Did the universe or did the creator answer the prayer of the New York Giants more than the Buffalo Bills? Or if that's a fair question or if you understand it. Thank you.
George, that's a fair question. And let me just say, in terms of sports and spirituality, you know what I mean? Sometimes when we look at that, we think about competition, and competition has its purpose. But I think that if the individual can be able to appreciate the opportunity to even be in a place or position to realize how the grace of the Creator gives us an opportunity to grow, not only from a human perspective, but from a spiritual perspective. So I think that if we can appreciate, just being able to learn from experiences, but it still all comes back down to, the importance of us bringing loving kindness, bringing harmony, bringing balance, and learning from these earthly experiences, but knowing that there's a greater calling for us to bring unity, to the universe, George, if that resonates. But I think everything has its purpose, but it's all about, again, us being one as we all are, yet many. If that resonates, George, I'm done.
This is Bill, George. George Watson knows me, so he'll understand where this answer comes from. George, in the book Cold Mountain, there's a great line where a young soldier going off to join the Confederate Army says to his pastor, "Do you think that God will bless our troops?" And the pastor says in response, "I believe that God is tired of being called down on both sides of the conflict." I think that's your best answer, my friend. Going back to mute.
Thank you. Hello?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. I agree wholeheartedly. That's exactly where I was going. God is really not concerned about football, baseball, or sports. God is concerned about your heart. The Creator does not. I honestly believe, and let me say this with deep conviction, it is disrespectful, it is an insult to have any expectation that the one who created everything that is is involved with menial things such as sports activity and people competing against each other, when in essence the Creator's greater concern is humanity, period, not a football game. I do believe that Christianity has delivered a sense of irreverence for the Creator of everything that is. And I do think that it is extremely irreverent for us to feel like we can pray and ask our Creator to take side, when in actuality, the Creator has already told us to dominate. And in dominating, it has to be on behalf of humanity, not a basketball game, not on behalf of any type of competition, whether it is between a spouse, or whether that it is between teams. Thank you.
I think the question, I agree with everything you guys have said. I think the question gives us opportunity to think about who and where we are in the journey that we've taken. Because what you're speaking of is an immature person who may still be see God as through the eyes of religion and not see the plight of mankind and what's going on in the world. So from the perspective that we are now, your meditations should be about, I don't say sure, that's up to you, but hopefully about what is best for mankind and looking at the bigger picture, being able to see the bigger picture than for smaller things like that, and even down to the, can I get this bill paid or can I get this done? So that's the difference to me and the prayer and meditation, the calling of words, because those type of things I think and we're all guilty of them, maybe not for football games, but individual things that we want done. I think, I hope we're moving to a point where we see beyond those things and see what is best for the universe.
Ron, I have another comment. I think that's why we kept going to the altar when we would have altar call at church.
Yeah.
Because we were praying because we wanted things, we wanted to change certain situations in our lives. So to me, altar call was like the horse with the carrot. It kept leading you there, and there were no, nothing was getting done. Nothing was being answered. No prayer was being answered. So I kept going and going and going, and then I finally transitioned out of the religious setting. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. This thing, we're being transformed, guys. We're being transformed, and we talk about feeling the rhythm of the more we understand and being transformed. And even we talked last week about free will. The more we're in tune, not only with the universe, but with ourselves. And those vibrations are should be stronger than they were a year ago, especially the times in our lives that Evelyn is describing now. So it's just another way of reminding us of the journey and the responsibility of who we are and what we're doing. So, but anyone else, questions and/or comments? Anything?
Good morning, Ron. This is Janice.
Good morning.
I heard I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
I heard a little bit ago in our discussion, someone mentioned the 42 laws of Ma'at.
Uh-huh.
I was wondering if we could go back to finish that up.
Well, you wanna go back and study those and get a better understanding? Is that what you're asking? Or
No, I believe they were mentioned alongside the Ten Commandments, and I thought we were going to kind of circle back around to that.
okay.
First of all, the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments has its genesis in Kemet, in Egypt, from the same place where we get the 42 laws of Ma'at. That's the first thing. The next thing is that the Ten Commandments speaks to the idea of what you should not do. Ma'at speaks to the idea of who you are. And those principles of Ma'at talks about the life that the Creator has instilled within us, and the Ten Commandments in actuality are designed to manipulate. They are designed to incarcerate in a religious way the heart of humanity. They are very accusatory, and they are used as a method of telling you that you're not good enough, and keeping you chasing after that carrot, which is religion, and never being able to attain it. Wherein the 42 principles of Mayat tells you what you were created with, the spiritual DNA of your makeup, and has nothing to do with an external God or external religion or external principles that you are to live up to that are judged by men whose principles are already tainted because of the nature of what they have based these principles on. I'm done. Thank you. And I hope someone else can clean that up for me.
Yeah, good morning, Pastor. I may not be able to clean it up, but I would like to share that, 2,000 years even before the commandments, there were the laws of 42 laws of Mayat, and this was the earliest writings of morality and spirituality, and even those commandments that we come to know was basically concepts or laws that was taken from Mayat. And there was a comparative study in reference to those of Mayat and the Ten Commandments. And so just for a point of reference, the Ten Commandments, some of those commandments were taken from the 42 laws of Mayat. Just some additional information I want to share. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Go ahead. Just quickly,
go ahead.
On the back of what you just said, Pastor, and what George just said, the commandments speak to what we should do. The 42 principles of Mayat speak to who we be, who we are, what we. It's another way of saying what you said. It reminds us of who we are, not the action. Because if we know who we are, then whatever actions we take thereby reflect the essence of who we are, the divinity that we are. And we don't need anything to remind us of what that we should not kill, steal, murder, blah, blah, blah. Because being reminded of the essence of who we are speaks to, I respect other people. I respect other people's property. I care for the earth. I can be trusted, all of those things. So it reminds me and reflects back what's already, as you say, my spiritual DNA. Thank you.
In addition to that, Barbara Jane, the Ten Commandments have as its energy source masculinity, which seeks to dominate everything in a destructive and manipulative and controlling manner. Mayat is feminine. In terms of the energy of Mayat, is feminine, which in essence is spirituality itself. Thank you.
Okay, guys, this is Bill again, if you can put up with me for another moment. Perhaps it's because of my cultural background, perhaps not. But I see the whole transition out of the faith of Ma'at as being almost the introduction of industrialized religion. When the princes of Aman destroyed the new city that was built by Nefertiti and basically took over the faith. Ma'at no longer existed historically after that point, at least from what I can find out. That it not only gives us a good foundation for faith and tradition, but it also gives us a cautionary tale that when the male energy begins to dominate, bad things happen. And it's almost just been a series of similar changes, if you will, societal changes, ever since. We've never been able to get back to the purity of a faith like Ma'at and the 42 laws, because the male energy, I think that's a great way to put it, keeps perverting those energies to the personal gain of a few at the very top. Going back to mute.
Well said.
I agree, 100%.
I would say you got it, Bill.
Ditto, Audrey.
Hey, questions or comments, anyone? Great discussion. Any questions about anything else that may have gained your attention this week?
Just an observation. This is Barbara. Is everybody noticing how we don't tend to talk about the things that are going wrong per se everywhere as we once did? What we are finding ourselves doing is talking about the essence of who we are, the basic genesis of who we are, the laws of Ma'at, and what we can put in the universe to reflect back our understanding of who we are in unicity with our Creator. So although we talk about all these negative things, it is not to the extent that we once did when we first got started, if that resonates.
It does indeed.
Does indeed. And if I can elaborate a little bit further, I think it speaks to us seeing and understanding who we are and where we are as far as being responsible to go forth. I send you forth, and the going forth is the high vibrations that we feel, the energy, the oneness with the universe. I think that's a great observation. Great observation.
I totally agree, Ron, with what you just said. And I think because we're learning more who we are, those things don't move us like they normally would have before. Just the knowing that we can do what we do to influence the change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Great observation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's transcendent time and space.
Yes.
That is ascending the tree of life, the ladder of the tree. That's what it's all about. That's exactly what's happening.
Okay. I tell you what then, if you have any other thoughts and questions, hold them until tomorrow. Maybe it's a good place to pause. We've gone over a lot today. And if you have any questions you don't feel comfortable speaking out, send them to me, a pastor or one of the other teachers, facilitators, and we will address it. So if there's nothing else, see you tomorrow at 11. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks for the
everyone.
invite. Stay well.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you guys tomorrow.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.